I may be biased, but as a doctor, I kind of think that everything in life has a little bit of a health angle to it. So with that in mind, we're going to talk to my dear friend and colleague at CBS News correspondent Michelle Miller.
And I have a question for you.
What's that?
Can we really live to be 100? I saw an ad that said, you know, by 2050, 1,000,000 of us would be living to the age of 100. How could we possibly do that?
Not only can we possibly do it, but we're doing it. Right now that number is 50,000. I just looked it up. 50,000 Americans are at 100 or more. By 2050, that's supposed to go up to about 1,000,000. But right this very second, there are 2 million Americans who are 90 and over. And the reason why that's happening is I think we are doing a lot better in stopping the mortality from the most common causes of death, which are cardiovascular disease, heart attack, stroke, and cancer. I mean, 30% drop in cardiovascular disease in the last 10 years. Cancer, we're doing much, much better, not as well as we should, but with prevention and with screening colonoscopy and better treatments. I think that kind of rings true. I think there will be a lot of people. The question is going to be, do you want to live to be 100?
I know. I mean, there's a lot of wear and tear on the body.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how can we keep the ankles and the knees and the wrists and the eyes? All of that stuff needs to work.
I've been saying, you know, my whole life it's amazing that my wrist, it goes up when I want it to go up, down. I mean, I love my wrist. I love the human body. How do we keep it intact? Because really in evolution, you know, evolution wants you to live to procreate. That's what, you know, by the time you're 40 or 50, you should be done with that. And then really there's nothing for it in evolution, not much at least, to keep you alive. So we have to try to do it by lifestyle, by eating better, by doing exercise, by keeping the right weight, by not smoking.
Now, how do we keep the memory strong? I mean, that's what I'm having these senior moments, and it worries me a little bit.
Yeah, I know. And you know, senior moments, we joke about that, but people really worry about that.
Oh, I mean, because it could be a sign of something more serious.
Right. That's
dementia, Alzheimer's.
Right. Alzheimer's, which is a form of dementia, and of course, you're always thinking, I can't remember that person's name, or why am I in the kitchen? And maybe it's the beginning of something. And you know, usually, occasionally, of course, Alzheimer's is increasing. It's a disease of older age, and as more people get older, there'll be more Alzheimer's. We have to do something about that. But for the vast majority of people, when they're worried about these senior moments, they don't have Alzheimer's. They're just getting older. Now, we used to kind of blow that off and say, well, it's a senior moment. But you know what? So what? It's a senior moment. It does reflect something that's happening with age. And there have been some fascinating studies recently that show that you can actually do something about it. I mean, one of them that I thought was great was one of my professors, Dr. Eric Kandel, won the Nobel Prize for his work figuring out the molecular basis of memory, short-term and long-term memory. And in his lab, they showed that there's a protein that's in the hippocampus. The hippocampus is a part of the brain that's important for memory. And that protein goes down with age in both mice and men. And he showed in the laboratory that in mice you can artificially increase that protein, and when you do that in old mice, their memories become the memories of young mice. And mice and men are actually more similar to each other than you would think, which is kind of something that puts us in our place, right?
So you're saying that at some point we might be able to take a pill of this protein and increase our ability.
That's the first thing that we always think about is what pill can we take, but it turns out that that part of the brain that's involved with this protein, you can do something right now to increase its function, and that is do physical exercise.
So
that actually does, you exercise the brain in a way.
Serotonins, or?
We don't really know. We can make up, you know, it's serotonin and it's dopamine and, you know, all that stuff. We kind of make up these things. And there are other things with, you know, there are the studies with video games where they have elderly people 60 to 85. They play video games where they're multitasking. They're looking at signs while driving. And it turns out that not only do they get better at that video game, that it translates to their regular life. Their short-term memory gets better. Their attention gets better. So the bottom line is, go out and play video. No, it's we got to design some of these video games that maybe can help us stay engaged.
Stimulate the mind.
Stimulate the mind. My 95-year-old dad, you know, he's active like crazy, and he's surrounded by his family, and he's at the park bench across from our apartment, and we're all talking to him all the time, and I think that's really important.
Stay young at heart.
Good advice, Dr. Miller.
Dr. LaPook, you gave it.